Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country. In the last part, we started off Kremkroc Industries Inc, and now we're in Elevator Antics, which... not the gimmick for the stage I would have expected with that kind of name. And then we actually have a bonus stage right off the bat. This was actually a stage that gave me a lot of trouble in terms of getting all the bonuses when I first did a 100% run. Because there's some weirdly placed ones. In fact, that basically summarizes the rest of the game. There are some oddly placed bonus levels. Stages, things, bonus rooms, whatever. And I had a really dumb run of this that was my initial recording for it before I made my big mistake. I forgot that K at the very start, even though it's probably one of the easiest letters to get in the goddamn game. And I don't know why. I just did. Now, one thing I'm surprised I haven't gone over yet, that's a bit of a minor issue that with DKC1 in particular, I forget if 2 onwards fixes this, is that you cannot switch Kongs unless you're on stable ground for some reason. And it has to be flat stable ground. If it's like a slope or even something moving like that elevator conveyor thing last part, you're not going to be able to do much. I'm surprised I got that. I have jumped over that thing before, I swear I have. At this point, it is really pointless to do all these bonus games, because if you have over 99 lives, you're not losing them all unless something very terrible happens. Though I forget if Donkey Kong Country is one of those games that saves your life total. I don't think it is. I think if you turn the console off and then come back in, I think you're back to whatever you were at the start of the game, like 3 or 5. And I forget if this is even a game where 0 counts. I want to say it isn't. I forget how many animal tokens are left in the game, at least rewarded through bonus stages at least. But I don't think there's enough to get, like, every single, bonus stage again at this point. Thinking about the soundtrack, though, since this song's playing, I think one thing that DKC2 onwards did better is they actually used not only better instruments, but more varied ones. Because they tried to stick with a very jungle, kind of organic sounding kind of thing for this game's soundtrack, like things that would fit in that area, like a whole echoey, fairly minimalistic song for the caves, very bongo heavy for the jungle stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. Whereas 2 onwards started using a lot more like rock instruments, like guitar instruments and such, and it works really well. Mind you, what's the composer's name? I want to say his name is David Weiss or something. The guy's just a great musical genius. In fact, I don't think I can think of a single Rare game that has a bad soundtrack. Let me see if I can. Not counting, like, the LJN stuff, that is, because I'm counting Rareware as, like, Nintendo second party. I can't remember much of DK64, but that's because I haven't played that game that much. Conker's is catchy as all hell. Even, Nuts and Bolts had good songs in it. I don't know. Either way, if you can't tell, the major gimmick for this stage is the namesake, the elevators. But they only show up in the second half onwards, roughly. And they seem like they'd be deadly, but they're honestly not. The big issue is actually what's around them. Maybe if they had a gimmick where the longer you stand on them, they would start to shake and fall over, that'd be kind of dangerous, but nothing really to worry about. I will say this game definitely does have a difficulty curve. Stages towards the end of the game are much harder than those at the start. But it's a very stable difficulty curve in that, aside from the very start of Gorilla Glacier, nothing like spikes up in difficulty. It almost feels stable throughout when it's really not. Either way, welcome to Poison Pond. Oh god, we're swimming in Ecto Cooler. Now this doesn't seem deadly at all. If I recall though, this is, if not the last water level, the second to last water level, and it's potentially the most annoying. If I'm thinking of the right stage, that is. Yes, I am. I forget if these have shown up at this point, but these are mincers. They are entirely invulnerable obstacles that are there just to damage you. They move in various speeds and various patterns, and they can be annoying. And in an underwater stage like this, unless you have unguarded to be mashing the jump button, it's kind of annoying. Honestly, though, this is probably my favorite water stage in the game, though, because it actually puts up a decent challenge. Plus, even though the green water is weird, graphically speaking, I'm actually quite fond of this green water because it pops. Everything just pops in this stage, and it ends up really looking good in my eyes. I know a lot of the comments I've had about this game are, I don't like some of this, but it all looks good. That basically summarizes at least the first Donkey Kong Country. 2 and 3 actually do a lot more interesting. DKC2, I'll get into this again during the credits. It's a fine and stable game, but it doesn't really do anything new to make itself stand out aside from the graphics. And just the really atmospheric soundtrack. God, I love this song. There was a song that showed up last part as well, I believe. Or is that later this part? I forget. I might be thinking of when I was editing this. That I also absolutely love. I think it's called The Fearful Factory or something. This game's soundtrack has some odd names. Okay, that was fair. Oh, comboed. I do have to wonder, though, based off just how the end of the game starts getting a lot more factory-like, and polluted, obviously, if this game was also supposed to be a bit of a environmental message game, you know? Play as the monkey, fight the guy who has factory and such. I'm probably either just overreaching or overthinking things, and that's been known to happen. But it wouldn't be too surprising in my eyes, especially given some of the things that happen in the later games. Oh boy, let's go talk to Old Man Cranky once more.
Come over here and let me have a look at you. A leap of faith is all it takes to find Winky in Barrel Cannon Canyon. I was told that if you bounce on 8 consecutive baddies, you'll get an extra life. Can't say I expect to see you again, but you might get lucky, I guess.
I think that is the last time we see Cranky, but I'm forgetting what happens in World 6. Either way, welcome to one of my favorite levels in the game, Minecart Madness. While the first minecart stage gives me horrific nightmares due to how I played as a child, I actually really like this stage, because first off, the song from the first minecart stage returns, and this is a really good track. But it's also less about you controlling the minecart, more so watching out for yourself while the minecart goes automatically. Also, jump now. That is a kind of hard to see bonus, because it's only indicated by the fact that the surrounding bananas stop for a brief period. And I don't want to get that Ramby token, because I want to avoid bonus stages from here on out. I have more than enough lives. But yeah, this stage is just a lot more fun for me, because it's more about the timing than the, being frantic, I suppose. That's a way to put it. Though, realistically speaking, and I know I'm bringing realism again into a game about 2 walking monkeys fighting lizards, why are there more than one mine in these minecarts on these mine tracks? I can understand if they were like different stations, but they're just floating in midair for no reason. I'm gonna stop bringing realism into a Nintendo game about monkeys, though, now. Aside from when they'd be drowning, but even then. Who am I to say how Donkey Kong works? After all, we know for a fact that Bowser Jr.'s mother is Miyamoto at this point. Even though that's like 2 years, that joke's like 2 years old now, I think, roughly. I forget. E3 this year wasn't too interesting to me, even though I'm bringing this up probably towards November. This is probably getting uploaded closer towards November, December. It's currently late June. E3 ended a few weeks back. Nothing too stellar. Nintendo, I like as usual. Sony had some interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to Mario vs. Rabbids, which is a sentence I never thought I'd end up saying. Not because of the looking forward part, but because the crossover just is weird as hell. Those will all be out by the time this gets uploaded, though, so I'm going to stop talking about that because, for all I know, some games I'm looking forward to might end up being crap, and others that I'm not looking forward to might end up being really good. Either way, first off, this is the Blackout Basement. This is the song I was talking about earlier. I think it's called Fearful Factory. It's really good stuff. Really atmospheric and pumps you up. And the gimmick for this stage, as you're seeing, is that the lights are constantly turning on and off, and when they're off, you cannot see shit. I think you're supposed to be able to see some of the yellow, but that's about it. You can only see yourself and the bananas. Enemies, items like the on guard token there, the KONGs, bonus barrels, they're all completely invisible. And something that I'm not sure how well is translating into the frame rate of the video, because I'm still not sure how Camtasia outputs my frame rate entirely, is that the lights are actually flickering before they go on and off. You can see it every now and then, yeah, but it is always flickering. It's not just like on, off. It's like off, on, off. The ropes are probably the most annoying part of this stage because judging where you are or where they are when they're automatically swinging is hell. Also, minor graphical thing I'm not a fan of with DKC 1, and I think the later games do this as well, and even though I understand why it's there, I'll get more into that in a moment, is that the Kong, whoever the Kong that you're not playing as is, when they're not in action, their sprite dims. And that makes sense for gameplay, make sure who you're playing is more in focus, to make sure they pop against everything. But at the same time, that also, what would be the opposite of washes out a sprite? I don't know. It does that to the sprite, and it just feels and looks weird. Here's actually a new obstacle, though, I believe. Arrow platforms. Then when you step on them, they'll start moving whatever direction the arrow is facing before eventually shaking and then collapsing towards the ground. We want to do that here, though, because there's a bonus barrel for us. And I think there's something up there. I want to say it's one of the letters. Yep, it was the end. So, you know, that's nice. And we actually get a steel keg for doing that. And I'm going to show something that I haven't done the entire game so far that you can do. You can stand on steel kegs while they're rolling. You can technically do this for any barrel, but it's the easiest to do with the steel kegs, if not the only way to easily do it. And that allows us to get to the secret without really having a chance of getting hit. Oh, and this is probably the most annoying of these kinds of bonus stages, because it's really hard to tell when the thing's going to stop blinking and when the lights are going to go on and off. I'm not sure if the lights go on and off in a set timing with those, like if it's always going to go off and on and off and on, you'll just barely see where it ends up. But if it isn't, that is annoying. I am glad the later DKC games, and by that I mean Returns, actually made the KONG letters do something other than extra lives, because otherwise they're just kind of pointless collectibles. Either way, time for the boss of World 5, Dumb Drum, and he is probably my least favorite boss in the game because he doesn't really do anything. This entire boss is basically like the final boss of Arkham Asylum in that it's a mook rush. Dumb Drum will go down once, send down enemies at you, come down twice, send down 2 more enemies, come down 3 times, repeat so on and so forth with an increasing number of slam downs. The Claptrap one's the only one that really is ever threatening to me because I can't roll into them. I forget if it's the DKC GBA point that changes this fight to be more interesting, or if I'm just thinking of Brutal Mario World again. Because this guy was a boss in that as well, and he was really annoying there. Brutal Mario World is a really intricate Mario World hack, though. It's more fair than Kaizo, but it's also a lot more interesting because of it. He also automatically kills himself after 5 downs. Which, I guess that's cool. And with that, we're on to World 6, Chimp Caverns. This is technically the final world in the game, because World 7 is just the final boss. Welcome to Tanked Up Trouble. And this is my actual least favorite level in the game, aside from Snow Barrel Blast. It's another one of the auto-scrollers with elevators. However, the elevator has a fuel gauge that goes from 1 unit up to 5, and if you are on it when it goes down to 0, it falls. So throughout the entire level, you need to grab those fuel canisters in order to keep it afloat. And this doesn't sound too bad. In fact, it's technically a more interesting auto-scrolling level than the first elevator level. However, there are times where it's very hard to reach the, well, not very hard, where it's miss it or die with the fuel canisters. Like, there's going to be some zingers between some of them. It's going to get kind of ridiculous, especially for new-time players. First-time players, not new-time. New-time just sounds like some sort of Gundam thing. Well, that's probably because new types and all. But either way. This is probably the worst level for first-time players because not knowing where everything is going to be can really harm you. But then again, Donkey Kong Country on the whole, I will say, is one of those games that is infinitely harder the first time you play because you have no idea what's going to be ahead of you. That and some of the level designs in this game, honestly, coming back, are just kind of dumb sometimes. Honestly, though, thinking about the levels of this game, first off, since we're almost at the end, I should mention there's only 33 levels in this game. Something that the sequels would also do better in, if I recall. Something I think that the later games do better than DKC1 is level themes. Not so much level variety, because DKC1 does have good gimmicks that keep some of the levels varied. I mean pure themes, because let's see, in this game we got jungle, I'll count treetops with that as a second one. Cave, underwater, factory, and ice. And I think that's about it. Which, you know, that's not horrible variety, but they reuse themes a lot within their gimmicks. And it kind of stands out. I think, like, later games would have more themes, just less levels per. Like, there's only, like, I know for a fact there's, like, 3 honeycomb levels in DKC2 or something. Mind you, I could just be spewing bullshit, because it has been a long time since I played DKC2 or 3. Actually, about longer since it's been since I last played this. I think I last played DKC 2 and 3 in, like, 2010, 2009. It's around now, by the way, that this elevator starts getting really tightly timed because there is just very little fuel. That didn't make me shit my pants when I was a kid. Also, there's a tire here you can bring along for it. You do need this tire to get one of the fuel canisters, but that was earlier on in the level. We want to not go over to that blast bar. We instead want to continue through here to get the last letter and then jump over to the exit. I almost died there. Tank Top Trouble is a really annoying level. I don't like it that much. Time for Manicminsters. Which, if you can't tell just by the fact I brought them up earlier, we're going to be seeing a lot of minsters in this level. And it's here they can get kind of annoying. One of the biggest issues with levels with minsters is that, say you're generally a player like myself who likes to kind of rush through these levels and play as fast as he can and as best he can. It gets kind of annoying because these things, first off, they move really quickly, so just predicting where they're going to be in relation to you, because I think they move on a universal cycle, can be annoying. But also, just something about the mincer's hitbox feels off. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but there's just something about it that feels off, which kind of describes a lot of the first DKC, honestly. The hitboxes feel a little bit off. Damn near close, but just a little bit off. The sequels would improve that, I know for a fact. It also just improved the animation quality, because I know for a fact there's a lot of characters in this that are missing frames of animation that are actually in the code, but they just never got used for some reason. Probably, like, stuff like processing power or something, but yeah. Like, I know for a fact the victory animations are a lot more smooth in the second and third game. Also, yeah, this is a very easy special stage because as long as you're just bouncing on one, you'll bounce on all three more often than not. Unless one of them decides to be a rebel and not turn around correctly. Now I'm panicking. Ah. Yellow dot lives. That's something only I believe the cave levels do in this game, is that they do a bit of a thing where foreground objects show up, and that's really cool, graphically speaking. But they also make it appear in front of the HUD, which, not my favorite idea. Mind you, I'm not even sure if that was intentional. They probably meant to have the HUD in front at some point, but, who am I to say what Rare was thinking? That's satisfying. I will say this game's sound design overall is really good. When you, like, hit an enemy and they grunt, it feels good to do that to them. And because I'm always a fan of really good sound design in games when it enhances your impacts. Blaster Master Zero did that really well, as did Metroid Fusion actually with the Super Missile upgrade. Honestly, at this point, I have nothing to speak about with the bonus stages anymore. We've seen every single type of them, and they're not very interesting anymore at this point. Yet again, I'll give more points to the sequels for keeping the bonus games a bit more varied, as well as just keeping gameplay variation up a bit more. And that's the end of Manicminsters. Not a very hard level, just watch out and take your time. But now it's time for a very unique level, Misty Mines. I think this song only plays here, and it's a very atmospheric track. There's very little melody to it, and it's almost actually creepy. The main gimmick of this stage is that it's enemy spawners. Enemy spawners everywhere. There's no real way around that. And a lot of it is just trying to find where the bonus stages are, honestly. There's nothing very hard in this level. In fact, I would call this the epitome of a breather level. We're just here to make it through. It almost makes me think this level was meant to be a bit earlier in the game for some reason, but that's probably just me yet again overthinking. Love this mist effect though, even though I swear I see faces in it that haunt my nightmares. We want to jump down here, though, because there is a bonus stage, and the music starts causing mood whiplash. This is also a very unique bonus stage in that all 4 of the Kong letters are in here for some reason. I guess they just didn't want to make the level seem too happy with the normal sound effects, so that's why it's so disturbingly creepy, but And now the mist effect is gone. I don't know where that went. You might remember back earlier on in the game, that weird blue and pink mess happened in one of these mine levels. That happened as well during a practice run of this level, and I am convinced that it has to do with some layering effects. At this point, I'm just trying to stay away from getting a bonus stage, as I've said before. Also, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but I really love that victory anthem there. It's nice and catchy. Oh, no, there's the mist effect. That's right. It just takes some time to load up. Either way, though, Misty Mine, very oddly easy stage. I know I just got hit twice in a row there, basically, but that's just because I was being overconfident. I have to wonder what the point of that is, because this stage feels like it should have been earlier in the game. Like, what was the threat there, aside from just the mist and the enemies? I guess reduced visibility, but that's not very intimidating. Either way, with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we'll be heading on to the rest of Chimp Caverns, and see where we can go after that. See you guys then.